TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no rain with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop. Come on, take me higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Tell a friend. That's right, the NCAA Insiders football edition. You remember the spring? Every Friday at 3 o'clock, 3 men in a box, Matt Grissom, Quentin Mills, still holding a seat for Smitty when he's available, talking college baseball all the way through Omaha, and of course the NCAA championship. Now we're back for football, and I can tell you I am as jealous as you know what, as Matt Grissom, Radio Row at the Circa. That's right, rubbing elbows with Derek Stevens, the man, the myth, the legend who built the Circa, the greatest sports fans gift to the world. Jeffrey Benson in charge of the sports book, the pool, the long bar. The list is endless, and of course Fremont Street. But we'll get to Matt and talk to him all about that good old stuff as he's living life the highway, the high life, I should say. Shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships, WagerWire. If you haven't downloaded the app, please run on over to Google Play, download it. It's free. Myself, Zach, Travis, the rest of that team will take great care of you through the rest of this year and beyond. Viva Tequila Seltzer, CT Bets, the rest of that team and family. If you have not tried it, shame on you. Go to your local bar, package store. If they don't have it, ask why. Why? Why not? Let's get it. New flavor coconut. We're cuckoo for coconut, so give it a try as well. And our new proud sponsor, Atlanta Steaks and Seafood. Good friend Terry Smith back here with the ECSI family, gonna be shipping steaks, chops, seafood all across the country. He'll be on once a week talking Georgia Bulldogs, talking Atlanta Braves, maybe even some Atlanta Falcons. So without further ado, the star of this show, live at Radio Row, Circa Contest Weekend, Mr. Matt Grissom.
Hello, Jeffrey. I look like a floating head. I'm wearing a black shirt. What else is new? Behind a black sheet that separates me from ESPN Sports Radio, 94.1, San Antonio. All these people. I feel important.
Well, you are important. You are
This is a real experience.
Last time we talked, we were breaking down the NCAA Baseball Championship, and you sent me a text about 6 weeks ago, already with some preseason top 25s. And before we get into football and your trip out there was a team that you pointed out, the UConn Huskies. Are we expecting this is the year, Matt?
It could be. They could make some noise. You know, UConn's they've had a pretty decent track record of being good at baseball there. It still breaks my heart that they didn't get through that Stanford Super Regional, but yeah, I think they've got a lot returning, and I think UConn could make some noise.
Well, if I
don't
ask
want to live in a world, though, where you're spoiled enough to win national championships in both basketball and baseball.
Well, I'll tell you this, before you leave on Sunday, okay, do yourself a flavor, just for pizza and beer money. You go put a 2-team parlay on the UConn men's basketball team to win it and the UConn women's team to win it. And just tell him JD sent you from ECSI, and just put that on the mantle and just hold on to it.
Okay. I'll do that.
All right.
If
We'll
they
have
have
some.
odds up for the women's. I'm not sure yet.
Well, if not, tell Jeffrey that Jeff says get cracking.
Yeah. Get after it.
All right. You are in Radio Row. You are at Circa. This is the biggest weekend for football before we kick off. Give us a little taste for all the people that are 3,000 miles away, exactly what you're experiencing right now.
Well, so Circa, if you're unfamiliar, Derek Stevens created these two awesome contests. You've got Circa Survivor, which is you pick one team just to win every single week. The caveat is that they cannot play that team twice. So once you use them, you lose them. Derek goes out of his way to help people. Look at this schedule. I mean, this is amazing. I should keep it over my face because it probably looks better than mine. But the Survivor, $10 million guaranteed. Circa Millions is 5 picks against the spread every single week. And that is, let me see, $6 million guaranteed. And there are 2,600 people in Millions. There's 5,900 in Survivor. There's a 4 plus 3.3, so basically a $7.4 million overlay right now in the two contests. If you don't know what an overlay is, it's basically he's giving away more money than he's bringing in.
Well, they're expecting the big. They're expecting the big push this weekend, right, Matt?
Yeah, this weekend, next weekend, they're going to be pushing hard. They've got a panel tomorrow. It's Jeff Erickson, Willis McGahee, Mike Palm, Jamie Pelegi. I'm not sure how you say that, and Frank Schwab. So I'm excited to hear them talk. I got to run into Willis McGahee earlier, and we talked a little bit of Miami Hurricanes and a little college football. He asked what I was doing here for professional football. It's like, you know what? College sports matter too. Okay. If we could get a contest for Mr. Stevens about college football, yeah. Oh,
I think if he did,
I think I can tell you. Sorry, I was going to tease. I found out something last night from Derek, but I don't know if he wants to make it public or not.
Well, can you give us a little tease?
Well, actually, he went on VSiN and said it. That's like when they proposed it. So, anyways, thanks to Matt with Omaha Steaks. I got to run into Derek and the crew out in Omaha during the College World Series, but he wants to take all of the VSiN shows and do them for 2 days from the College World Series in Omaha. Brought to you by Rocco's Pizzeria, The Mat, and Omaha Steaks. So, of course, I was like that annoying kid at your leg, and I was like, well, and he goes, what? And I said, I'm waiting on your invitation. He was like, well, hell yeah, you got to be out there. You're the college baseball guy. And I was on cloud 9 the rest of the night. Never mind the fact that I got taken at a baccarat table for $400. That was the best part of my night, was hear Derek Stevens say, yeah, you've got to be there. So I'm excited. Next season.
We got to make sure that he also adds, with all those sponsors, you're going to have to make sure he adds NCAA Insiders to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll do something with him. He said it's going to cost a lot to get. I mean, you think Mitch and Paul, get them out there, Gil, all the production crew, all the stuff. It's going to be a task. I hope that he can pull it off. But, I mean, it's Derek Stevens. He can pull it off.
Well, I can't wait for that because, as we're doing our shows, you're going to have to squirm off to the right for a quick live update. And for both those weekends. Actually, speaking of, are you going to stick and stay for 2 weeks? That's the $1 million question.
I don't know. It depends if Arkansas is there or not. I'm definitely going back out. Like that is hands down. I've been to the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, SEC championship game where Arkansas lost to Florida. March Madness, I was at the Arkansas UConn butt whooping out here in Vegas, actually. Of all the big sporting events, I've never been to a Super Bowl, but College World Series takes a cake, man. That was an awesome experience.
Well, week 0, there's just some short games, so I'm not. We're not going to get to them. I'm not letting you leave this quick, even though I know everyone's pulling at you at all sides here. Give us some SEC updates, thoughts moving. I mean, again, Georgia, the team to beat. They add Texas, they add Oklahoma. We know Alabama's got a chip on the shoulder. No Nick Saban, Coach DeBoer now there. LSU just reloads. We know that every year. They lost a boatload. Everyone's talking about their darling Ole Miss. Before we get to your Arkansas team, what are your eyes, what are your ears hearing about the SEC this year?
So I think there's a clear separation from the top tier SEC teams. I think you've got Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and then it kind of falls off. I think Missouri's going to take a step back with Cody Schrader being gone. He was kind of their key last year to get to that, I think, 10 or 11 wins with the bowl game. Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava, I think is how you say it. I don't know. You're putting a lot of faith in a sophomore, and it's the same that goes for Oklahoma. Tennessee's got a little bit more of a favorable schedule than Oklahoma. Their win total is set at 7.5 for Oklahoma. I know Jackson Arnold, people are high on him. Brent Venables is going to have a good defense. I'm not worried about him from that front, but I think they got served a pretty brutal SEC schedule. So I'm kind of down on Oklahoma. I wouldn't play the under win total because I think it's spot on. They're a 7 or 8 win team. But LSU, you mentioned they reload. Brian Kelly's a good coach. But you're replacing Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman, was a top overall draft pick, accounted for 5,000 yards, just a hair short of 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. You're replacing him with a statue in Garrett Nussmeier. The kid can fling it, but I'm down on LSU. I think they take a step back. Their season win total is 9. I went under on that, and I also took USC +6 in their week 1 game out here in Vegas. I think USC, Miller Moss is a really good quarterback. He is young, but what do we know about Lincoln Riley? He can develop a quarterback, and I think the pressure of Caleb Williams, he opened up as a preseason favorite to win the Heisman. I mean, it was one of the lowest numbers I've ever seen for a preseason quarterback. He had a lot on his plate, and he didn't perform. The defense was terrible. USC goes out, grabs D'Anton Lynn from UCLA. The Alex Grinch experience with, I know Lincoln Riley was trying to take care of him, but I think USC could maybe surprise some people, and I feel like the more I've talked myself into them, I love them +6 in week 1. I know you didn't want to get into individual games,
fine.
but
that's fine.
I really like USC +6 against LSU. You remember back last year, LSU likes to schedule these harder opponents in week 1. Last year, of course, it was Florida State. Florida State kind of started their tear of undefeated season. Unfortunately, it ended without a college football playoff berth because of Jordan Travis. But I think LSU they're going to have their hands full with USC's defense or USC's offense.
Shout out to Mike Dombrowski, good friend. I haven't seen you in forever, a.k.a. Big City. Hug that son of yours. Great year of baseball I saw on Facebook. Keep up the great work, brother. You talked about Jaden Daniels. They also lose Malik Neighbors. They lose Brian Thomas. 2 studs. If you're drafting in fantasy football, make sure you try to add at least one of those guys. I've stayed away from Neighbors. He reminds me too much of OBJ. It is what it is. Brian Thomas, a lot of the experts think is the better long-term play in the NFL, but we'll have to see about that there. Let's circle to Arkansas. It's been a while since the Hogs, I should say, the backfield of doom. I mean, it was just run and run. You had some flashes. I went through the pain every week with you last year, right there, and then just the defense let you down, then the offense let you down. Expectations going into this year, Matt?
So they were 1-5 in games decided by a touchdown or less. You know, we hung with Ole Miss, we hung with LSU. These are games that kind of showed the flaws in Sam Pittman being an offensive line coach. There was one game where at the press conference they asked why he blundered the end of the half, why you didn't get the field goal team out that would have decided the difference in the game. He wasn't a good game manager, and he's already come out and said Bobby Petrino is going to be on the sidelines. He's going to run the offense from there. He's going to be in charge of the offensive game management. I like Travis Williams, the defensive coordinator, too. He returns, and he gets to return 8 starters, 9 on offense. You've got Rashad Dubinion, who was kind of like our scat back, and then you get Utah's Quentin Jackson came over. He's a Texas kid. Played in Utah, played really well. They're going to be a really good 1-2 tandem for Arkansas. And then you've got a receiving core that it's going to be hit or miss. They've got Luke Haas back, who was their freshman tight end last year that just really played out of his mind the first half of the season. Then he got hurt. You get Isaiah Satania, the speed back. I joked he's like a 98 speed overall in college football 25. So if you want to scout him, like throw him screen passes. I know Bobby Petrino's got packages built for him. And then you've got Andrew Armstrong, which was the team's leading receiver last year. He's set for a really big year. So you look between Haas, Satania, and Armstrong, and then you've still got Isaac Tesla, who's a big body, over the middle guy. And then you've got like a 30-year-old guy, 29. He played in the MLB. He's coming to play college football. But what I've heard is he's just a really good locker room guy. He's mature. He's been on the big stage. I think he could do some stuff. And then we've got I think Tyron Broden. He's like a 6'7" wide receiver, runs a 4.4. Dude is a freak athlete. If you want to talk about a red zone threat, that's going to be him. So Arkansas's got the pieces, and this isn't a homer pick. We were 4-8 last year. Our season win total set at 4.5. Again, I mentioned we're 1-5 in games decided by 7 points or less. There's going to be some variation there. We're going to figure out ways to win those games when it's crunch time, especially with Petrino at the helm now. So I think over 4.5 is a pretty good bet. I think this team's ceiling could be 8-4 if they could upset Oklahoma State on the road, which is a tough road game, second week of the season. But you look at their schedule, UAPB, that's a win. UAB, win. You go at Auburn. Hugh Freeze has kind of had our number, so we'll pencil that one in as a loss. A&M and Jerry World, the last year that we're going to play there. Mike Elko comes in. Connor Wiegman, sophomore, coming off an injury. We don't know yet what this team's going to be. I'm kind of down on A&M. I mentioned LSU. I'm down on them. You've got Nico with Tennessee. We get Tennessee, LSU, and Ole Miss all at home. If we could somehow steal one of those, I think 8-4 is really in the realm of possibility. The only real games that I feel like we lose, you've got Ole Miss, Texas. LSU is going to be tough, but again, I could see a path there. Missouri's going to be tough on the road. Elijah Drinkwitz, for whatever reason, he always tries to take it to the Hogs. I feel like if they're fighting for a college football playoff berth at the end of the season, that last game of the year is going to probably be a loss for Arkansas. But talking about 4.5 for a season win total, realistically, this team should go 5-7, 6-6, 5-7 at worst. So I really like the over 4.5 in that one.
And that will save you some pain of betting them every game, right?
Yep, absolutely. We get Taylon Green. I even talk about the quarterback. 6'6", transfer for Boise State. He was turnover prone at Boise State, but Bobby Petrino's reworked his whole mechanics to throw over the top. Told him quit throwing like he's 6'2", throw like he's 6'6". He's developed a lot more accuracy, a much better deep ball, which, again, you throw to Isaiah Satania out of the slot, that dude can burn you. So I think Arkansas's got some promise this year. There's 17 starters return, and Pittman's the second shortest shot for the first coach to be fired. So it's now or never. And like you said at SEC Media Days, embrace the hog. Because I do feel like they're going to surprise some people this year.
You talked about the Aggies. They open up next week. The line was 1. It creeped to 3, back to 2.5 against Notre Dame. I've never seen this in my life. Notre Dame has, if I read the schedule correctly, 3 road games all year, and the first one is at A&M. Outlook for A&M, and again, I've seen people have Notre Dame cheating, going undefeated. Now it's a year that they could withstand 1 or probably 2 losses because there's 12 teams going to the dance. There's not just 4. Aggies outlook, and then is it too early to see how you think Notre Dame matches up between those two? Surprised that it went from 1 to 3, now back to 2.5. Texas A&M favored.
I'm surprised A&M is favored. In all honesty, I know it's hard to go into Kyle Field and win, but Notre Dame, they've got a really good team, and I really like Riley Leonard before he got hurt. If he can learn to run and run out of bounds instead of taking hits, I think they're going to be good. And I talked about Connor Weigman, his stat line: 979 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions last year, almost 70% completion percentage. So the kid's got talent. I don't doubt that, but you're bringing in Colin Klein, who's a really good offensive coordinator, Jay Bateman for defensive coordinator. It's a whole new staff with Elko. And I get why Jimbo Fisher got fired. It did not work out. But you replaced a coach with a 73% career win percentage for a coach that's got a 64% career win percentage. No matter how, I said this on our show yesterday, Texas A&M is the guy at the party who thinks he's a lot cooler than what he is. A&M is an 8-4, 9-3 team. You may get flashes if you get just a worldly performance out of your quarterback, like a Johnny Manziel. They could go 11-1, 10-2. But I think at the end of the day, A&M's win total is at 8.5. I think that's spot on. They're going to win 8 or 9. But I expect A&M to take a step back this year. I mean, they're coming off a 7-6 season last year, so it's not really a step back, I guess. But I'm not buying the hype. I don't think A&M is going to be very good this year.
A good segue and transition. And when I say this question, you're going to look at me like I have 10 heads, and I don't. It sounds awkward. And I was going to say, do you think the stage is too big for Coach DeBoer at Alabama? And what I mean by that, he was in the championship game. He had a wagon last year. He's used to coaching in the Pac-12. Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame, and they play a big-time schedule. Comes to LSU, fits right in. We're talking about a lot younger coach. He's had a good recruiting year, but he's replacing a legend. There was Coach Bear Bryant, then there was Nick Saban, basically. Now, he's got the biggest shoes to fill, which is impossible to do. Thoughts on Alabama coach first year jitters, or is he going to just step right in and you could say, hey, it's been a couple years and they got a chip on their shoulder and they got the underdog role now with the Georgias in there, with the Texases and a few other teams battling at the top now, Alabama?
Yeah, I think Kalen DeBoer, I mean, he's a really good coach, 37-9 career record. I don't think it's going to be too big for him, and you get 7 offensive starters back. Most importantly, you get Jalen Milroe, who I think if he can share what he did with Michael Penix, because you look at Penix's career, started at Indiana, comes over, and all of a sudden he's like in the Heisman race. This kid, somebody's responsible for developing him. And, I mean, you've got to give props to Kalen DeBoer. The biggest thing for me, though, is DeBoer was really good in big games. You look, they beat Oregon twice in that Pac-12 tournament, and it killed me because I kept thinking that they were going to regress. But, I mean, he's a good coach, and he can win at a big-time situation. You get Georgia at home. You get Missouri at home. You go on the road against LSU, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. That's 2 sophomore quarterbacks in Jackson Arnold with Oklahoma and Nico Iamaleava with Tennessee. I've got to believe that they could go over the season win total of 9.5 because I only see one for sure loss, and that's Georgia. But again, they're at Bryant-Denny after a bye, so it wouldn't surprise me if they beat them. That being said, 9.5. I like Alabama, but I think minus 105 to make the college football playoff. I hate using the word lock because nothing's a lock, but I really like this Crimson Tide team to not skip a beat. I think Milroe could definitely win the Heisman. I think I got a ticket on him for 13-1. We'll see, but I think DeBoer, as long as he doesn't try to be Nick Saban 2.0, which I don't think he will be. Everywhere he's been, he's a winner. So I like Alabama a lot this year.
The whole picture. We do this every week in our college baseball shows here. Go follow Matt, obviously, at Grissom on X, the greatest handle in the history of Twitter. Go to the NCAA Insiders. The best baseball. I mean, it's the best, hands down. Now they just transitioned into football. Make sure you follow along there as well. We always talk about tickets in tow. We haven't started the season, so what's the Matt Grissom portfolio look like today, and obviously before you leave Sunday?
So I really am high on Oregon. I think plus 200 to win the Big Ten. That their biggest game is going to be Ohio State. They get them at home. Ohio State has to travel west. It's a tough place to play in Eugene. I feel like that's going to decide the season. That's going to decide the Big Ten. Really high on Oregon this year, though. Ohio State is good. They're a two-headed monster with Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. They're going to be dangerous, but I'm not the biggest Will Howard guy. I mean, they lose Marvin Harrison. The receiving core is always good with Ohio State, but can he get them the ball? We'll see. But I talked about Arkansas earlier, over 4.5. I'm also high on Virginia Tech. I got them plus 155 to go over 8.5. Ole Miss, we haven't really talked about them. Lane Kiffin, the portal king. I think Ole Miss is going to have a really good year. They do have a little tougher of a schedule. They play Georgia, I remember, but that's probably a loss. But I think this team could go 11-1, 10-2. SMU over 8.5. I really like that team. UCF, Gus Malzahn gets his quarterback in KJ Jefferson, who I think is going to have a really revamped career. KJ was really good. He did not like Dan Enos. That was the problem last year. You insert him into a Gus Malzahn offense where the offense is going to be tailored around his skill set. He's going to be able to run. He's going to be able to throw. I think UCF over 7.5. They could make some noise in the Big 12. Scooting on down the board, I talked about LSU under 9. And then I took a couple of longer shots to win the Heisman. Jalen Milroe talked about 13-1, Jackson Dart 13-1, and Dylan Gabriel plus 550. That's the shorter shot. You look at Gabriel, if he can recreate 75% of what Bo Nix did last year, I think Oregon's going to be a very dangerous team. You get Evan Stewart over from Texas A&M. You get Tez Johnson back. Dan Lanning is building a defense like the SEC, and that's going to be good because you're competing in the Big Ten now. But I really like Lanning as a coach. I think he's going to have a really, really tough squad this year. And like I said earlier, it's going to come down to that Ohio State game, but I think they can win that one.
Shout out to Marty Lowe. He pops in just in time. Roll Tide, roll. Marty tells you, Matt, tell Matt not to get in the back of a motorcycle with Bobby Petrino driving.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino is banned from motorcycles in Northwest Arkansas.
It seems, if I remember correctly, too, Oregon 1-point favorite on the look-ahead line against Ohio State, which will be a must-watch TV. The world will stop for that game here. You were talking Big Ten before we get to this week's board here and you get to your other shows. Can you give me any good news from the Nebraska Cornhuskers?
So I really like Nebraska. Dylan Raiola is going to be good. The trend, though, with Matt Rule is it's always year 3. He starts building these programs, and he's got a really good position with Raiola for year 3, which would be next year. So I feel like their season win total, I think, is 7.5, 8.5, something like that. I think that's pretty spot on. I'll be looking to back Nebraska next year as like a legitimate contender. This year, I don't know yet. I think Rayola, I know there's a lot of hype. He looks like Mahomes back there, but it may be a little too soon to be buying in on him.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Only 4 games this week. Obviously, 2 headliners: Florida State, Georgia Tech, and Dublin. The line went as high as 13.5. It's as low now as 10.5. It is 11 right now at Caesars on the Vegas Strip. What have I've tried to explain to anyone that will want to listen is when you peel some layers back here, Florida State still 6.5-point favorites. Sometimes some 7 for the first half. So I get the move. It's almost like a pros versus Joes here. I know Florida State was a wagon last year. I know they lost a lot of players. I know a lot of sharps that are on the Georgia Tech side. For me, currently, there's only one way I'm playing this game, and it's Florida State in the first half minus the 6.5. I'm reading what the market is telling me. That's my point. Thoughts on that game, or do you have any?
So initially, I liked Georgia Tech plus 13. That line is gone. I've sat here, I've looked at weather. It's supposed to be colder. It's 63 degrees, 16 mile per hour winds with a chance of rain. I think this is a dead under game. Our numbers made this total 49.5, and Florida State minus 11. So it's spot on to where it is now, except for that total. I think it's still at 55.5. So I'm on the under. A 55.5, and then I also did first half under 28. I think there's going to be some jitters. They've traveled halfway across the world. DJ is a great quarterback, but can he be great in this game? I don't know. There's going to be some bumps along the way, but at the end of the day, I think Mike Norvell has the better team. As long as Haynes King stays somewhat composed, he could have a great game. But I think scoring is going to be at a premium with the weather involved and just the travel, plus the fact that you're playing in week 0 and all eyes are going to be on you. So I like the under in that one. If I had to lean on a side, I would probably take Florida State at the number. If you can get the minus 10.5, I'd really love it to drop down to minus 9.5, but I don't think the books are going to give us that.
The other headliner game is SMU at Nevada. Opened at 20 and a hook in some spots. It's 26.5, 27. Again, I look at the first half number, 14 and a half. For me, I'm going to play this game 2 ways. I'm going to play SMU first half, and I'm waiting for their team total because I am playing that number over. I think they could score every possession if they wanted to. They're a wagon. You talked about their over 8.5 there. Thoughts on SMU Nevada?
Yeah, Preston Stone, he's a really good quarterback, junior year. Coming off an 11-3 season, Rhett Lashley's a good coach. I mean, he's a disciple of Gus Malzahn, so you know they've got an offense that's going to be able to put up points. That line is getting a little bit out of hand. I may look at a first half, but no real key points for Nevada. I just think they're going to be completely outmatched in this one. So it would be SMU first quarter. I'm curious to see what those lines are. Maybe do a little first quarter over and then look at SMU for the first half.
Closing thoughts before we wrap this up. You got a few more days. I know you're just soaking everything in and then enjoying the evenings with Derek and the rest of the VSiN crew and whoever else is at the Circa. Closing thoughts, sir.
I think it's going to be a fun football season. I'm really excited about the 12-team playoff. I think you're going to have a lot more parity. Plus, you've got they implemented the 2-minute warning, so you're going to get a couple more plays out of it at least. I am curious to see, though, we talked about this yesterday, is, when it was just a field of 4 for the playoff, I feel like you wanted those style points, so teams would run it up a little bit. Now I feel like they may be more protective of, get the starters out. We don't care to win by 40. If we're going to be in the playoff, that's all we care about. We'd rather, you saw it with Jordan Travis. You'd rather save your guys than trying to put up style points to impress a committee to vote you in for the top 4. Now that it's 12, that may relax a little bit. So maybe get a lot more backdoor covers this year. Games may go over. if teams are pulling their starters in the fourth quarter with a comfortable lead. But I'm so excited about college football this season. This up until tomorrow, every team has the vision of going 12-0. Your team has a shot at the playoff. After tomorrow starts, teams will start getting knocked out. But until then, we can all root for a 12-0 season for our fans.
If you had Biff's Almanac and we're in January, who's in the title game? Who's holding up the trophy?
I think it's going to be Georgia and Oregon. And I think Georgia is probably going to come out on top. I'd love it if Oregon does. Georgia plus 325 to win the national championship. That's really short odds. But at the end of the day, like college baseball, I told you Tennessee and Texas A&M were the two best teams. Have a ticket on both of them. I'm in the same boat with Georgia and Oregon. So if they make it to the championship game, I'll be happy.
As we always close out the show, tell them where to find all your work, your website, etc.
So you can follow us at NCAA Insiders on X, Twitter, whatever. I'm Grissom on X. And then we're working on something special. We partnered with Parker Fleming over at College Football Graphs. He's Stats of War on Twitter. He puts out some awesome EPA, advanced analytics for football, projected points, all that we did for baseball. We're going to bring it to you for football. CollegeFootballInsiders.com is the website. I don't know if it's active yet. I know Nick, our website guy, he's been working on it day and night. So trying to get it ready. Y'all go check it out. If it's not live yet, it will be in the next 24 hours. So check it out and follow us along.
The one and only Matt Grissom at Grissom on X. A shout out to Quentin Mills at Q Millie, working hard. He'll be back next week for week number 1. In about 1 hour and 6 minutes, the closing bell, myself and Riley Magnuson will get you caught up in tonight's MLB action and some college football. And then at 6:15, Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB will be back for In the Batter's Box. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only, he has returned, Mr. Matt Grissom at Grissom on X at the NCAA Insiders. Back for another year of college football. We couldn't be more happier, stoked. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.